Good morning. It's January the 29th, 2018. Time to kick off another trading day and another trading week. We have an FOMC meeting that starts on Tuesday, finishes on Wednesday. Much of the financial press will be speculating about when will the Fed raise interest rates and by how much. Right now the market's playing for an interest rate increase in March and June. But one Fed governor said maybe we don't have to raise rates until June. So we will see. It will unfold as we progress through the year. Hypothetical or simulated performance results have certain limitations. Unlike an actual performance record, simulated results do not represent actual trading. Also, since the trades have not been executed, the results may have under overcompensated for the impact of any of certain market factors, such as lack of liquidity. Simulated trading programs in general are also subject to the fact that they're designed with the benefit of hindsight. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profit or losses similar to those shown. Okay, we had pretty big down movement in bonds and notes. We broke support at 122, which is where you can see where they've been testing the waters, and then in Globex it just got slammed. Started before Europe, Frankfurt would be right here, these two, and then London. So the selling came out of the middle before the European session opened a half hour before, and they knocked the market down with some momentum, and it's still pointed down, and we're making new lows on this particular move. So right now we're looking for a place to sell it. I had hoped that we'd be able to sell 23s to 27s when I was doing the work earlier this morning. It may take a 19 to get in, so we'll start with 23, 27, sell 1. 31 to 03, sell 2. Buy 13 to 17, buy 1. And then 5 to 9, buy 2. And I'm going to put a question mark right here at 20. News this morning: personal income plus 0.3. Personal spending plus 0.5. That's a huge number. Core plus 0.2, and Dallas Fed 24.5. The focus will be personal spending. If the number comes in that high with personal income right there, the bond market won't like it. And then perhaps the direction of the Emini. Hard to know these days. The Emini, the inverse relationship, usually works, but again, like everything else in trading, there's no 100% guarantee that it will work, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on that. Hope everybody's weekend was good. It was pretty warm here in the 50s. We had the first part of this week's cold front come through last night, took us down a bit. Had high winds, but not like last week's winds. Last week's winds, a couple of days, 30 gusts to 45. That's a big fan that does that, you know. Especially when it's doing over across several hundred miles. Not enough power plants in the world to even produce a single storm like that. Okay, 28 to the buck for number 1 for the bond, 3 to 7, sell 1. 11 to 15, sell 2. On the buy side, 16 to 20 is number 1. 9 to 13, buy 1. 1 to 5, buy 2. Thinking a lot of the damage has been done. Got the FOMC announcement on Wednesday. That tends to contain the markets. The meeting doesn't start till tomorrow, so if their powers that be want to sell, today's the day to do it. We have the State of the Union speech tomorrow night that will be as politicized as the Dems can make it, with people not showing up, Supreme Court judges not showing up. Interesting times that we live in right now. It's there's a picture that Chuck sent me when the U.S. Congress were saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and there was about 9 people sitting down, and the people all standing around them had their hands on their hearts reciting it. And here you are in America, and you won't even pledge as an elected representative of your district, won't even stand up and pledge allegiance to the flag. We do live in interesting times. Okay, gold. Right now you can see we have this break volume-wise at 38. We came down just below 40. The market has been sold all night. We have a new move out of the middle in 47, so 45, 47, sell 1, 49, 51, sell 2. On the buy side, 39 to 41, buy 1. 35, 37, buy 2. I was looking at a map over the weekend where they showed where most of the immigration was, from what countries most of the immigration was for the various states. And South Dakota, almost everywhere is Mexican. But South Dakota was Somalis, which I thought was interesting. I know that we read about the Somalis in Minneapolis all the time, how they're getting people elected up there. Block voting, etc. But the South Dakota, of all places, is a influx of Somalis. Not that cold in Somalia. I've been there. Okay, we have volume at 59. Last trade is 13. We've got the mode at 35, so 25 to 35 picks up this area right here. 65 to 75 picks up that area right there. On the buy side, we got the buck, so 90 to the buck, buy 1, and we'll make 50 to 60 buy 2. Give it a little bit of room. You can see right here the cleanest break in the market is just right through here in the say 123.25, 123.50 area. So leaning against the top of that. This area right here we might have a chance of getting in. Looks like the market is selling. Looking at crude. Started in London, so looks like we got a pretty good seller at 66.50, and perhaps a buyer all the way down here at 65. So 75 to the buck, sell 1. 25 to 50, sell 2. On the buy side, 65 and a quarter, 65.50 buy 1, and then 64.75, 65 buy 2. Okay, the Emini made a new high on Globex. Trump's speech in Davos was very well accepted. I mean, he was the dominating force right there. Told everyone that the United States was open for business, and the initial feedback was a lot of money, even more money was going to be invested in the United States. And so business-wise, things are getting better. J.P. Morgan came out over the weekend and saying if you thought things were good in 2017, they'll even be better in 2018 as far as earnings go and economic growth, etc. So I think, everybody says that, what's different this time. I think what we have is 8 years of stagnation, and we have tons of money on the sidelines. So the status quo has been maintained. The entrepreneur, the subchapter S, the LLCs, etc., haven't been able to participate like they know they can. The largest multinationals have done very, very well. So you have all this money on the sidelines that's getting ready to be, not getting ready, it is being invested now in the economy. And I drove out to western Kansas, and where there was manufacturing facilities, these little nodes in the various cities, every one of them we're putting new buildings on the physical structure right there, and some of those are large multinational corporations. So right now the sentiment is very, very optimistic, and if you're optimistic, you're willing to make a bet on the future, forego $1 today for $1 down the road. And I think J.P. Morgan's assessment of 2018 is probably correct without a major piece of news. So here we sit. We've got a seller definitely at 75 to 80, and we probably have a pretty good buyer down here at 50 to 55, picking up this area right here. The corrections have been 20, with the actual correction, the heavy selling being contained at 30 to 40 points. And in bull markets, 50 to 70 points is about as deep as you'd expect the correction to be. So subtracting 50 from 2880 takes us to 2830. 70 takes us to 2810. Taking 20 off the top takes us down to 60. And we have a shot at that. So I'm going to put 60.62 as buy 1. And 55.57 as buy 2. And we're going to put a question mark at 65. On the sell side, I think 75 to 80 is best resistance, but 70 might, this little break right in here, might bring it in. So 69, 71, sell 1. And I'm really not too interested in the short side of the market until we retest the high, and then we'll put 75, 77, sell 2. And if we get that high, I will guarantee you that the professional trading community will have a limit sell at 78.25, 78.50. Go through and make new highs. They take a small loss if they're right. That's the edge of the market. They've got great trade location. 69 to 71's pretty aggressive. 75 to 77 is not. Okay, it's going to take a bit to get everything up and posted. I'm going to get busy on that. Back with you as soon as possible.